I'm Dan Jarvis, I'm the Mayor of South Yorkshire, and in the run-up to the COP conference I'm looking at what we can do to protect our environment here in South Yorkshire and how we can help our transition to net zero. I'm here with Dame Sarah Storey, our Active Travel Commissioner, to talk about the benefits of active travel, both for people and planet. So, Sarah, what do we mean by active travel?
Active travel to me means non-motorised transport. So whether that's a bike, a scooter, a run, we know lots of people run to work as their commutes. It could even be a swim. We know that there's someone who lives in Germany who uses the Rhine to get to work, and he has a swim pack. But anything that's non-motorised transport that is active and gets a little bit of exercise into your day, that counts.
You've been our Active Travel Commissioner for a few years now. What changes have you seen in that time?
The changes since I took on the role have been very interesting and really good. We've been through a journey with our local authorities, an education journey as well about the benefits of active travel and the far-reaching benefits. A lot of people, when I first arrived, assumed that active travel was only about cycling to work. They hadn't really considered the school run, the benefits to children in the morning, and they hadn't really associated it as much as perhaps they should have done with the health agenda and also the net zero agenda. So it's been really good to be able to make ourselves relevant in many, many different ways, and to see the progress of people saying, actually, yes, I get this, and I'm trying cycling myself and I'm really loving it, or my children are scooting to school now and we never did that because I took them in the car. And those conversations are always really heartwarming. There's lots of work to continue to do, and we still need to build much more infrastructure to make people safe. And that's been another area of improvement. We have started to get close pass operations happening with South Yorkshire Police, something we'd like to roll out across the whole of the region. And we're starting to get people to really understand the benefits of doing that, not just to catch people who are speeding, but that also is another way of catching other criminals too. So we've seen lots of progress, but we've also still got lots to do, which is what makes it so exciting.
So what's next? What changes would you like to see?
The next phase of the plan is to start to build out the comprehensive network, to start looking at what happens after the current plans have been built. Funding has been secured for the first part of the network to be built, but obviously we have a strategy up to 2040 to create that comprehensive network of active travel lanes so that people can choose to use active travel as their first choice for short journeys. So we need to know what comes next. Where's the next bit of infrastructure so there's no lull? Because in the past what's found is that the piecemeal approach to funding has meant there's been a gap, and then things have got much more focused on road traffic again, and we've built roads instead of building more active travel lanes. So the more we can plan for the next phase after what's currently being built, the more pressure we can put on government to fund that and to show that we are really serious about making sure that active travel is the base of all the public transport system and enables people to choose to leave their cars behind.
The pandemic has had a huge impact on the way that people lead their lives. So one of the challenges we're grappling with now is how we get people back on public transport and get them out of their cars. How do you think that we best do that?
The challenges we've seen on public transport are, the biggest we've seen in a generation. It's absolutely terrible to see how few people have got the confidence to be back on public transport. And since I come back from Tokyo, I've been travelling around using the trains again, and it's been heartwarming to see that they are starting to get fuller, but I know that the bus services in particular are really struggling. But we have, whilst that remains a challenge, one of the things we can do is make it more attractive for people to get on those public transport services, but equally make it easier for them to access them. So if they jump in their car first thing in the morning, they're most likely to drive past the bus stop, drive past the train station, because they think, actually, I might as well go the whole way in the car. So if we can make it easier for people to walk to that station, if we can create neighbourhoods where people are going to be feeling safer to walk around, think they might walk past their car and onto the station instead of jumping in the car and potentially contributing to the traffic, then we can certainly start to help people think about not just active journeys, but also taking that longer journey, including public transport. So I think active travel has a huge role to play. And that's where we fall into place with our active neighbourhoods, and those are the plans that we have across the region to filter streets to make sure that traffic can't get through where people live and where children are going to school, and to enable people to have less reliance on their vehicles. So I think active travel can play a huge part in helping us to solve that bigger public transport problem.
So Sarah, what can we do to make active travel more accessible?
This is a really big question because there's obviously accessibility for people who are riding non-standard cycles, using cargo bikes and e-cargo bikes, and then there's also the accessibility from a financial perspective as well. We often get questions about how can I get myself involved with a cycle to work type scheme, but I'm not earning enough money to be able to do that. So there's lots of different angles that we could look at this, but ultimately we need our infrastructure to be wide enough to be easily navigable for everybody. Wayfinding has to be simple. There have to be places to rest so that people who aren't going to be able to go as fast or as far can spend some time. So we have to build a place around it as well. But we also need to look at the schemes that are going to be available for more people to be able to afford a bike, and look for incentive schemes, because we know there are incentive schemes for people to move to an e-car, so there should certainly be incentive schemes for people to move to an e-bike, and especially those families that are considering getting rid of their second or even third car to move to a cargo bike, because that would be, the ultimate change and should be rewarded.
If you had to list the top benefits of active travel, walking and cycling, what would they be?
Well, I'm glad you said the top benefits, because there are just so many benefits. Ultimately, it's good for your health. It's going to make you happier. It's going to give you better clarity of thought. It's going to give you more stamina. It's going to just put a smile on your face. Whenever I'm out on my bike, I see people smiling. When you go out for a walk, more and more people went walking during lockdown as well and are still continuing to do that. It just makes you feel happier, and I think those are the top benefits. Ultimately, there are many far-reaching benefits for businesses, for schools, and for our whole communities and our economy. But the top benefits are very, very personal. They just make us happy.